Under the bright lights of the MGM Grand, an electric charge rippled through the arena long before a punch was thrown. The crowd, an ocean of flags, colors, chants, and expectation, rose in waves of anticipation as two nations prepared to collide through the fists of two proud warriors. On one side, the decorated veteran from Puerto Rico, José Miguel Cotto, a man carved from grit and experience, carrying the pride of a boxing dynasty. On the other, the young, fiery-haired prodigy from Guadalajara, Saúl Canelo Álvarez, only 19 years old, but already carrying the weight of a country's hopes and the promise of greatness. This was his first appearance on American soil, and though his record glistened, 31-0-1 with 23 knockouts, this was more than a fight. This was an unveiling, a proving ground, a night where the boxing world would decide if the legend whispered about in gyms across Mexico was real. As the ring announcer introduced them, a hush swept over the stands. Cotto stood cold, hardened, his expression carved from years of professional battles. Canelo entered with that unmistakable calm, the kind of confidence that only a fighter raised in hardship and fire can wear. The commentators spoke of careful matchmaking, of a young star built slowly and smartly. But the moment the bell rang, it became clear that nothing about this night would be easy. This wasn't a showcase. This wasn't a soft welcome to American audiences. This was pressure, raw, immediate, and dangerous. Cotto came out fast, launching himself at the youngster like a hammer swung by destiny. And in those opening seconds, as Canelo absorbed Cotto's aggression, the world leaned in, sensing that something special and something perilous was about to unfold. Cotto wasted no time imposing himself, and the early rounds unfolded like a storm crashing into an untested shoreline. He lunged forward with heavy intent, throwing wide hooks and jolting combinations meant not just to score, but to overwhelm. Canelo tried to stay composed, hands high, eyes sharp, but then it happened. A left hook crashed against his jaw with thudding precision, snapping his head sideways and freezing the crowd in a moment of collective shock. The 19-year-old phenom, unbeaten, hyped, groomed for greatness, was suddenly wobbled, staggered, forced to taste the kind of adversity that breaks prospects or turns them into champions. Cotto smelled weakness immediately, surging forward with a veteran's instinct, letting his hands go in a flurry meant to finish the young Mexican before he could recover. Commentators wondered aloud if the matchmaking had been a mistake. The crowd roared, sensing a dramatic shift, but in that chaos, in that blaze of punches and pressure, something remarkable happened. Instead of collapsing, Canelo began to fire back. Short, tight counters launched from instinct more than thought. A right hand, an uppercut, another right. He found space where none should exist, timing Cotto's aggression with surprising maturity. His hands were wide, his defense imperfect, but his poise was undeniable. As the round continued, Canelo steadied himself. The storm had not broken him, it had awakened him. He learned in real time, adjusting to Cotto's lunging entries, watching the rhythm of the older man's attacks. And though he had suffered, though he had been shaken, he refused to clinch, refused to retreat. Instead, he fought with resolve, fought with the fire of a young warrior trying to prove that hype was not illusion. By the time the bell rang, the arena buzzed not just with excitement, but with the realization that the boy from Guadalajara had just survived his first true crisis. As the rounds progressed, the fight transformed from a dangerous test into a showcase of Canelo's evolving brilliance. Slowly, almost methodically, he took control of the rhythm. He began landing sharp counter right hands, slipping Cotto's lunges with subtle pivots, and firing uppercuts that lifted the Puerto Rican veteran's chin skyward. One of those counters, clean and precise, was so sharp that Cotto's glove touched the canvas, a flash knockdown that signaled the tide had turned. Canelo's confidence swelled. His combinations became crisper, his timing more dangerous. With every exchange, The teenager showed layers few expected: patience beyond his years, composure under pressure, and a surgeon's sense of placement. Cotto, to his credit, remained brave, pressing forward, firing when he could, trying to break the young man's rhythm. But Canelo's defense tightened, his footwork sharpened. He began dissecting the attack with calm efficiency, rolling under shots, digging to the body, snapping Cotto's head back with counters that echoed like cracks of thunder across the arena. The commentators noted his poise, his timing, his maturity. They spoke of his family of 6 brothers, the years of gym wars that shaped him, the relentless discipline of a kid who had been fighting grown men since he was barely a teenager. Cotto kept pressing, but his punches lacked the sting they once held. Canelo's shots, on the other hand, carried purpose, especially the right hand, which he began landing with frightening consistency. Every time Cotto leaned in, the right uppercut was there. Every time he pulled back, a left hook found him. The fight became a story of a veteran's will versus a rising star's skill. And with each round, that rising star glowed brighter, stronger, more inevitable. Entering the championship stretch, the arena sensed the shift in energy. Cotto, once the aggressor, now found himself on the receiving end of a calculated dismantling. Canelo's punches were landing with increasing sharpness: short right hands, sneaky left hooks, and that punishing uppercut that cut through Cotto's guard again and again. The young prodigy wasn't wildly searching for a knockout. He was educating, breaking down, teaching boxing's harsh lessons with every precise connection. Cotto continued to press forward, but the steam was gone, his legs slower, his responses delayed. His punches still came, but with less conviction, less hope. Meanwhile, Canelo stayed composed, rolling his shoulders, slipping shots, punching back with accuracy that bordered on clinical. The commentators marveled at the 19-year-old's maturity, as if greatness were revealing itself in real time. In the corner, Cotto's team urged him to throw more, to push, to reclaim space, but his body betrayed him. Canelo, sensing weakness, accelerated. He targeted the head, the ribs, the guard, peppering Cotto with combinations that forced him backward, forced him to cover up, forced him to absorb punishment without the ability to respond. The crowd roared with every connection, feeling the momentum snowballing into inevitability. Canelo's stamina held firm, his accuracy increased. His punches now echoed with the authority of a fighter rising toward stardom. And yet, he never rushed, never smothered his work. He simply pressed, patiently, relentlessly, until Cotto began to fade. Every clean shot added another crack to the veteran's armor. Every unanswered flurry deepened the sense that the fight was approaching its breaking point. The tension tightened with every second. The referee, Tony Weeks, watched closely, waiting, analyzing, sensing the moment when courage alone would no longer be enough to justify continuation. And then came the 9th round, violent, decisive, unforgettable. Canelo entered with purpose, unleashing combinations that snapped Cotto's head back with sickening clarity. Right hand, left hook, right uppercut. The young Mexican prodigy tore through Cotto's guard as if guided by instinct and inevitability. Cotto tried to fire back, but the punches had no weight, no speed, no resistance. He was simply absorbing, step by step, second by second, the punishment of a young fighter hitting his stride. The crowd rose to its feet as the assault continued. Canelo, sensing the end, pressed with calm ferocity. No wild swings, no desperation, only precise destruction. His fists found their targets with brutal consistency, and Cotto's body language told the truth. He wasn't just being beaten, he was being overwhelmed. Tony Weeks watched closely, leaning forward, eyes locked on the veteran who could barely respond. Another right hand cracked through. Another left hook followed. Cotto stumbled backward, shelled up, absorbing clean, unanswered shots. 10 seconds passed. 15, then 20, and in that window, Those silent beats between impact and mercy, the referee saw enough. With a dramatic step in, Tony Weeks waved his arms and stopped the fight. The crowd erupted in a thunderous roar. Cotto slumped in relief, and Canelo lifted his gloves in triumph, the weight of a nation rising with him. At just 19 years old, on his first night under the American spotlight, Saúl Canelo Alvarez had shown adversity, adjustment, skill, heart, and power, and walked away with a statement victory, a ninth-round TKO that confirmed his arrival on the world stage. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena. The winner by TKO, Saúl Canelo Alvarez. And in that moment, the legend of Canelo truly began.